literally left a church one time where they did the whole thing was on the Good Samaritan, like passing by the beggar, the guy that was hurt, and then the Samaritan stops or whatever. And I was like, man, that was a good service. And then I went out and I'm getting in my car and I'm driving. I'm just annoyed because like I don't know exactly where I'm going. And then there's like a homeless person with a sign asking for help. And I rolled up my window and took a left.
And so did everybody else coming out of that church.
Sure. And I was like, I think I missed the point.
And then he took off the mask and it was the precher.
He took off the mask.
It's right outside the thing. And you think they're working together.
Scoob.
Like, I'm sorry, I gave my money to the charlatan inside.
You should add that to the title. Dumbest guy in the room missed the point.
So just the top. This is in the top 10 comedy sets you've ever seen. And this guy.
I'm outside of the club in Dayton. I'm just standing outside. And this guy comes up, clearly homeless. I don't want to be offensive here, but there's no question whatsoever that this guy's homeless, right?
Which scent tells you that the most?
All of them.
Okay.
Visual, emotional,
sense,
the smell.
Is it energy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, buddy, you got any money? Yeah, here, man. I don't know. I got a little bit. You know, here's a couple bucks. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. So what are you doing? You know, I'm working. I'm at the club. I'm at the Dayton Comedy Club here. He goes, oh yeah, you wash dishes or something? And I go, no, I'm, working up to that.
You did a better job judging who he was than he did judging who you were. Right.
So I said, I'm a comedian, and it's open mic night, okay? And he goes, no kidding, really? And I go, yeah, I'm a comedian, been doing it a long time. And he goes, you get paid for that? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, tonight's open mic night, so they don't get paid, but I go up at the end and I do like 20 minutes and they pay me. Those other guys don't they're trying to get paid. They're trying to work their way up, and they get like 2 beers or something. And then as soon as I said 2 beers, his entire face changed. He goes, they get 2 beers? And I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden it occurs to me that I might, you know what I mean? And he goes, what you got to do? You got to be funny? And I go, it's open mic night. No. Have you ever been to an open mic night? Of course you don't. If you had to be funny, we wouldn't have these things,
We wouldn't need them.
Right. No, you don't have to be funny. You have to talk into the microphone for 3 minutes. You can't go up there and say hello and walk off. You got to talk for 3 minutes, and then, that's it. And you get 2 beers. And he goes, can I go? Can I get up? And I'm like, yeah, come on. So I go in, I talk to Rob, who owned the club at the time, and he's a friend of mine, and I said, I got this homeless guy who wants to go up, and Rob said, I don't care as long as I don't have to see it, So I'm like, all right, and I tell the guy, this is the flashlight, and when you hit 3 minutes, this flashlight will come on, and trust me, you'll see it, and then you're done, but you can't stop, you have to talk until I hit this flashlight. So he walks up on stage, pretty full room. And he goes, so I'm homeless or whatever. And a couple of people giggle. And he goes, no, I really am. And a couple more people giggle. And he goes, fuck you. And then more people start laughing. And he's like, you pieces of shit. And then this dude just unleashed.
Sounds like me.
Oh, my God. It was beautiful. He wasn't pretending to be mad.
Right.
It was real. It was what all of us are trying to do. It was honest and real. He starts yelling at us, you pieces of shit, get a job. You know how many hours I have to beg you tight fucks for enough meth money to get me through the weekend? And some of it was flat out funny, but most of it was just like, whoa, you're watching real on stage. Honesty, straight from the gut. He was killing.
I like jokes.
This guy was killing. And then it hit like 3 minutes. And I mean, people are bent over laughing. Yeah. He's screaming. And then I gave him the light and he goes, you pee, and just dropped the mic and walked off the stage. Walked straight up to me and goes, where's my beers?
Really?
Yeah. I said,
come on. What's funny is when we do that, there is a physical reaction that happens, and that's what sustains us for however long until we get that another jolt of being that good on stage, right? And that guy didn't even take that night. He didn't know that it existed. He just went up. He was himself. He conveyed a message as honestly and as effectively as he could. And he just wanted his 2 beers.
Right.
And that's the thing we chase, right? Isn't that? Like, you want that reaction. You want that communication. That's what killing or crushing is. It's effective communication, the exact way you want to do it, right?
I think so. I think comedy is it's almost like you are trying to perfect a communication. It's like you go up there and you say this, and you're like, that didn't work. What you mean is I didn't communicate it properly.
Right.
Right? That's what you're saying. It hardly ever has to do with the punchline. It's always like, this is funny, and I know it is. I just know this is funny. So how can I express this? And then you try it this way, and then they don't get it, or they didn't listen, or whatever. And then you go home and you're like, that didn't work. How can I express it? And you're constantly trying to communicate why something is funny. But when that guy, he wasn't even thinking about funny.
You're thinking, I'm going to get 2 beers. And I just
Yeah, he was
2
unburdened.
beers.
Yeah.
He's completely unburdened.
He was treating it like when you hold your hand on a car, and if you hold it there long enough, you get the car.
Right.
That's how he treated his
A
first
Mr.
set.
Beast video. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. It's
Wait,
great.
so, what do you think about, like, because you said I like jokes.
I was just being a smartass. But yeah, I do like jokes. It's like, have a couple lines. He didn't have anything, like,
Well, he did
have that meth
But
line. That made me laugh.
That's an open mic, though. You know what I mean? Like, an open mic is a time to try things, isn't it? It's like,
Try your jokes.
when you see me fuck around at an open mic,
You're different.
No, it's I'm the same. I'm the same as someone who
you
doesn't want to
different.
write jokes.
The thing that you never do is what you did for the thing you recorded at the Crown, which is you went up and you told jokes one after the other. You know what I
Right.
mean?
It's just because you were there. I was
Yeah,
intimidated.
you did jokes, and then, but you somehow, I guess I'm dismissing what you do as doing jokes. You
No, it's okay.
you always end up having like a list of things you want to do, and then you go up, and then you create the homeless energy that he's talking about, right?
Oddly, the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Yes.
That's a good title, by the way. Remember that.
yeah. Well,
Homeless energy.
Yeah.
Not that
Homeless
you're,
energy.
not that you're
I'm
homeless.
gonna make those shirts,
Instead
man.
of big dick energy, it's big homeless energy.
Yeah.
Small homeless.
You're just
energy.
in that. You just create an energy in that moment, and you react. You talk about the things that have happened already, and the shared experience of it. Like,
But this is why I think
you're
we
like
do
a
the
white
same
Tracy
thing.
Morgan.
so many compliments. I think we do the exact same thing. I think we just do it in different ways. And I think that guy was doing the exact same thing that you do, just in a different way. And I
Right.
think it's an open mic. You can just be
Yeah.
like super loose. Like how great.
Can you imagine walking up to him the next day and be like, "Hey, when you did the thing about the meth, I got a tag for you."
What's a tag?
He's like, "What is that? That's the
That's
thing that gets you 2 beers next time."
Yeah, 2 beers.
Get you 3 beers with a tag.
Tom is communicating with an audience. Tom is so. Can I say this?
I don't know what you're getting ready to say.
I know. Look, you can edit this. I don't give a shit. But this is the truth. Tom is socially awkward. He has trouble.
This just in.
This just in. He has trouble talk. Now, you can just stand there and just shoot the shit with people, right?
Right.
So the way that you're going to communicate is different than the way
Yes.
he's going to communicate, but the goal is the same. Tom
Yes.
is trying to communicate an idea that he had about the Fed or gun control or whatever.
Your ideas are important, and mine are butthole jokes. And
Dude, everything I've written recently has been Peyronie's disease.
Really?
You know what I mean? Like, no, I don't know. Whatever. That's a kind thing to say. I don't know why you're giving money to homeless people. First of all,
What?
Stop that.
Alcohol.
Why?
I mean, my thing with
Don't encourage beggars, is what I'm saying.
This is the guy.
Beggars and homeless
You've got a
people are
stack of fucking religious books on your desk.
He's also.
That's what you got out of those
Money.
books?
Get the shot of him wrinkling the stack of $100 bills.
Yeah, he's over there fucking not reading Walden properly.
Please say what you just said. Stop. Please say stop giving money to homeless
Stop
people.
giving money to homeless people.
Fan
Yeah.
yourself with it.
They don't need it. You know what I'm saying? This just encourages them to ask you for money outside of a Starbucks, whatever.
That was a great homeless encounter.
Yes.
Oh, that was one of my favorites. Tom and I are in Chicago. We walk out of a Starbucks, and there's this woman. And
It's a crazy woman.
She's crazy, but you say that like it's negative.
Yes.
I don't understand why you're so insulting. Insanity and crazy is a gift to be around, not to have, to be around it. You know what I mean? Are you
Yes.
kidding? It's gorgeous. It's like being around Isaac Newton.
So she is babbling on about this and I need my medicine and I think she didn't have she wasn't pushing a thing or something. But
She was pushing a thing.
she was pushing like a thing.
Because I stopped to talk to the woman and listen to her, and Tom goes, ah!
No,
like
she
that.
was just like,
He
and I
literally-
think, and I was like, here. And I just gave her $20 just to shut her up. And I don't want to hear any more of her story.
You're trying to be manly right now. That's not what happened.
What happened, Stewart?
That's not what happened.
Because I'm curious, how far away from that woman do you think you are? Do you know what I mean?
I'm nowhere near her. I'm close to her. That's what I mean. There's constantly in my head like there by the grace of God go I. But
Yeah.
I also have a feeling like that would never be me. You know,
Sure, yeah,
both
yeah.
those
But
things.
I think the older we get, the closer we get to that'll never be me thing, because you're only 3 bad things in your life happening from that. You know what I mean? I think most all of us are.
yeah,
Unless
I'm
you are
between that
so-
woman and Tom.
I
though.
appreciate
can
Yeah,
tell you
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think I'm between you and that woman.
There's just a line from that woman all
That's
the
what
way
I'm
to
saying.
Jeff Bezos. It was beautiful. Tom, I was standing there listening to this really fascinating, crazy woman, right? And she's got the oxygen thing and a whole deal. And Tom already passed us and made a noise when he did it, which I loved. It's great.
What was
It's
the
like-
noise?
he goes, ah! Like that.
More manual noises.
It was, ah!
That is 6 words from Tom when he goes, he's saying,
Yeah.
God damn it, I don't want to do this.
Right. There were humans in the Starbucks. Now there are humans outside of the Starbucks. He cannot wait to get back to his hotel room where there's no humans. And I'm listening to this woman, and Tom turns around and goes, here, and gives her $20. And it broke her heart. I mean, this woman, the look on her face was like, I can't believe you did that. And Tom was like, no. It's, and there's this really beautiful, socially awkward kind of mess going on. And then this woman is like, she's tearing up, And Tom is like, don't start crying.
He's
no.
like, here's $20 more. Stop.
Here's $20 more for you to not do this to me. I don't want to feel feelings.
So then Tom and I together, I said, take care tonight, okay? And then we start walking towards the truck, and this woman goes, God bless you. And Tom goes, that's it. No, there's no God involved in this. I gave you $20.
I want full credit.
God.
I'm with full credit.
So I understand.
Let me give God my credit. God had nothing to do with this 20. I gave you 20, and now
got
I want my
so
money back.
mad.
I
want
love
my money
this.
back with your God bless you. Okay, leave God out of this.
I love this so much.
Give me my money back.
It was
That's the best.
gorgeous.
That's the best thing that could have possibly happened in that moment, because while you want all the credit, you were being godlike.
It was a vehicle. I was a vehicle. God
Yeah.
was working through me.
It's
As
so
always,
interesting.
she always works through me.
Yeah.
As an ATM.
That should be a show. We just have you go around giving people money, and then when they get thankful, you're like, no. You should go to disaster areas and give out water and whatever. And just,
Where are
get
you
away
on
from
God currently, Tom? If you don't mind.
I'm working on the now thing. That's what I'm working on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Where,
saying?
where are you with God currently?
What do you mean?
Where are you? What's your? I mean, do you mind if we talk about it? Because you've had.
Look at all these books about it. I read all.
I
about it.
know. That's why I'm very fascinated to know what your relationship is at
Trying
the
to figure it out.
current day.
I'm trying to figure out what the answer. I don't know. That's
You
what-
said
I
something
don't know.
earlier when I asked you a question outside. What's the thing that is pervasive or
Oh, that's
in
within
every form, in every belief? And you said,
the God or the source or whatever you consider God. It's saying the God to me is. It's been so wrapped up in thousands of years of here's what God is. So it's the word is kind of.
if
So
somebody
the source, whatever, yeah, all those stuff.
if somebody says I love you every day and they smack you on the head, you get a warped version of what love is. So the word God has a warped definition in your head.
Yes, I think not my head, not necessarily in my head, but everybody's head. I just use that word because there's like I don't really have a better word. Anyway,
Yeah.
they all say right here. It's all inside of you somewhere. So you got to. You're it. That I am what like Jesus. I am what I am, and I am what you are. All those things. They all. The Buddha. It's all in here. It's all. We are it. That's to me what they all say.
So when that homeless woman, when you
I don't live
helped
it.
her,
I don't live it.
right? But she says, "God bless you." If you are everything, if everything is
You're
you,
right. I'm judging her version.
No,
of
I don't
what
think
God,
so.
that in my head, I know what I was doing. I'm using. I'm taking what her definition. I'm like, I'm assuming what her definition of God is, and I'm like, no.
That's
That
fair.
thing that you're saying about, that's not real.
Give me that 20
So
back.
give me that 20 back.
It's so great. She only said she had nothing to do with God. The fact that she said that, she wanted to say thank you,
Right.
and that's the way it came out of her mouth.
Yeah.
That's all
She was
doing.
overwhelmed, man.
She was overwhelmed. She was choked up, and that's just what came out.
Have you ever had nothing, less than nothing, and then someone gives you something, anything? It's just like it's beautiful. And her saying "God bless you" is just the best fucking thing that could have been said to you.
So you specifically.
So you think of me as being this, he thinks. I feel like you think of me as being very anti-religion
No,
and anti.
you used to be.
anti-
I don't think you are.
I think when I first realized that what I've been taught all my life wasn't real, I was a little like, this is, and I'm still like, I
Angry.
look at, I can go into, Joel Osteen, the preacher, the prosperity preachers, what the religion that Seth grew up sort of with, or that I grew up with,
Everybody.
they're bad for people.
Everybody.
Well,
Everybody.
I think that's
They're
the
bad.
traditional path. I mean, Reza Aslan, the book that you and I have been talking about a lot, Zealot, right? That's Reza Aslan. That's his path. Is he's born in Iran. His family, there's the thing. His family comes to California because of the mullahs, right? And they, religion wrecked Iran in the 80s and 70s. You know what I mean?
It's
So-
still doing pretty well.
Yeah. It's not going well. So Reza's family is atheists. And then because religion ruined our country and we had to leave. So, and then he ends up going to this Christian camp.
And he becomes a Christian.
He becomes a devout, preaching on, as a teenager. He converted his mother. He's on the street corner of this subdivision because he's so overwhelmed by this amazing story of Jesus of Nazareth and all this stuff. And then he decides to study it in college and then learns the way the book was put together, why it was put together, and all the stuff that most people don't know, and then became an atheist because he learned the actual facts that we know about the Christian religion. And then he got over that anger. He got over the fact that he'd been, quote unquote, lied to. And there's a debate there whether he was even lied to. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he got over that and then decided, I do believe in something. I don't know what I believe exactly, but I like this guy, Jesus of Nazareth. I like this guy. And so now he identifies, I hate that word now, but as a Muslim. But his point is all religions are just the same way of saying one thing, that it's all around you. And you can pick any religion you want. And if that's the way you feel comfortable, is being a Methodist or a Muslim or whatever it is, Shintoism or whatever the hell it is, if that's the way you feel comfortable, that particular language, then that's the way you should, speak about God through that way. But one of the things that I love that he says is when people say to him, like, I believe in the Bible, he's like, what are you talking about? Do you believe it exists? Of course it exists.
Right. Yes.
What do you mean you believe in the Bible? That's a ridiculous statement to make. The Bible is just a way of trying to explain faith. And faith is the part that you either have it or you don't.
Yeah, man, that's well said. That's an intense thing. Faith, you either have it or you don't. I think there are people who struggle with religion who have zero faith or have all of it. You know what I mean? Like I have zero faith, but I do believe some things.
It's weird. I feel like my reason tells me that it's real. And I think the science sort of.
What do you
in a
mean
way,
by it? Describe it.
Whatever life is, the source of
something
life,
else.
the thing that runs through all of
A
it.
bigger thing?
Consciousness?
That's obviously a part of it, right? Whatever it like the nothingness, it's all connected, and it all runs. It's all each other. You know what I mean? It's all like pieces of the same hologram that then make up the whole thing, and then also have the whole thing within every piece.
So a ladybug
So-
that was born in Maine today is the same part of the whole of you.
Yeah, well, like, yes,
Yes.
because then, like, whatever, like Aurelius says, like, everything we are gets broken down into nothing, not nothing, it never becomes nothing. It goes back into being whatever, the whole of what is, and then
Happy
those
birthday,
those
Tom.
particles and atoms come back together in different ways, and then are still life, or are still not life, or are still the distance between me and you, or whatever. It never goes away.
So you're it. Describing it is all of it. It's not Jesus of Nazareth. It's not, Muhammad.
I don't have a problem with either one of those guys as being like shacks, like spiritual shacks. You know what I mean? Like
It's just a way to describe it.
You mean Shaquille O'Neal, like Shaq?
whatever. Yeah, like they are that. They weren't good at free throws.
I really,
But what do I know? You know what I mean? So I could also be totally. But So I think my reason has brought me to there. Not faith. I'm a little annoyed that I don't have more like real belief. Like it's like there's, you know what I mean? Like I can reason and say all this stuff is, but it's like you just have, I don't know about you guys, but if you have moments in time of like a flash of like, oh, you're literally in the exact now, or you just can feel that you're a part of everything. You don't ever have that happen?
I've come to the point of realizing I'm just gonna always be overwhelmed and ignorant when it comes to this stuff. I don't think I can comprehend what it is.
I don't think you can either.
It is a thing. I just don't think I can comprehend it. But I do tend to land on that more often, that we are all one thing. As you treat someone, you treat yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
that's the golden rule.
I think I think what you're talking about, it, meaning all of it, and the connectiveness of all of it, is beyond the comprehension of human beings. We can't even figure out that the left lane is for passing.
Well, we're not trying. It's like saying that, like,
No,
when you,
but I
like
don't
you said earlier, something about human beings. We're just built that way. We're going to go to war. We're going to battle. We're going to, and we'll never get rid of war because that's just who we are. Well, because all of us agree with that premise. We're not even trying the other premise of we shouldn't have war. That we shouldn't. Our core should be not war. We don't say, hey, it's human nature to love each other. We don't say that.
Some people do.
Very few, right? Yes. But like you were saying earlier, we'll never get. We're just by nature we're violent towards each other. If we get to be more than 100, we're going to kill these other 100. I think that the fact that we keep telling ourselves that, and that's why we're that way, because we're not even trying to do the other thing.
It's because of all the different spiritual shacks.
Yes.
That's basically why.
Yeah, they put everybody at battle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like my mom would hate everything that he just said.
Oh,
probably.
really?
No, why?
Oh, she's a Jesus of Nazareth, like OG. She loves it.
Oh, really?
So much. Oh, yeah.
Does she study it?
Nope. She watches Amazon documentaries about how there's going to be another flood
Really?
real soon.
I would love to hang out with your mom.
Yeah, her faith is strong.
Right. I would
Very
love
strong.
to just sit and just listen.
So So yours was at one time also?
Oh yeah, pretty hard.
Is it now also?
Faith is strong. I just don't know where to put it yet. Pretty much.
Okay. That's to me very
He's a
interesting,
free
because
agent.
I feel like a lot of people have that sort of, there's a faith or there's a
Yeah.
belief, and then we don't look into it. So that's
Yeah.
sort of why, like I was saying earlier about there's great minds throughout history that have looked into it and have dedicated their lives to learning about it. And it's some cultures, it's built like parts of India, that's like their whole thing is we're gonna figure this shit out. So they have. So it seems crazy to me that like your mom, like most people, we have a belief, and then we don't really look into one of the most important probably issues that we have in our own.
It's kind
Has
of
your
like.
mom been
beans.
following the floods in Pakistan?
Oh yeah.
Oh, she doesn't like to talk about that.
Oh, wrong part of the world.
Yeah.
Wrong
But she's
flood.
a sweet lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
I would really like to talk. I mean, not even talk, just listen. Because I'm an atheist. I love religion.
Yeah.
And I like going to church. I enjoy it. I think it's
Can you elaborate?
I think it's the human imagination just on fire. I mean,
Right.
everyone you go into, I look at it like not a negative, condescending, you people are stupid way. I look at it in the way of, I can't believe we made all this stuff up. This is amazing. It's like Disney World. I mean, I don't understand why atheists won't go to church, but you will go to Disneyland. It's the same thing. That you're in Catholic church, there's a guy with a 3-foot hat on. That is amazing. And he's not even giggling. How can you not?
Nobody's giggling either.
How can you wear a hat that big and not giggle? That's amazing.
You get mad. People get mad at you if you do giggle.
I
Yeah,
know.
they
I
get
giggled
mad.
when I was a kid. I grew up very heavy Irish Catholic and Christian on both sides of my family. We went to Catholic churches for funerals, and we went to Christian churches for celebrations.
Where'd you go for
Catholics
Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve,
Which one? You
go
know?
get in a fight
Okay.
at my grandmother's house.
That's the true
You didn't go to
church.
Christmas Eve service
That's
or
the
Easter
truth.
service?
No, no Christmas Eve service. That didn't make no sense for nobody. We had stuff to do. We weren't that serious. We were for show
Last
only.
minute shopping? You were
That-
last minute shopping?
That sentence right there, we weren't that serious.
You were
Yeah, we
Christians.
weren't. They were afraid. That's why they were religious. But I think the Disneyland analogy is great. I think when people have limited resources, they are more likely to listen to things. I think most religion comes from a good place. I think most religion.
It's very communal too. I mean,
I think when it's good for people, it's the best thing for people, and when it's bad, it's the worst thing. And I think wanting to believe in something is admirable. I would love to believe in something. I just haven't found the thing that I actually believe, except through my experiences. And I've done psychedelics a good bit, and I've had some pretty religious experiences in there. And with the heavy ones specifically, the ayahuasca and stuff like that. It wasn't.
I'd be interested to see if you recognized some of what you experienced in writings of people like.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very much so. I could see how a thing could be misconstrued. I had an experience where a gentleman sat in front of me and was outlined, and it looked like an image of Jesus. I know that guy. He wasn't Jesus, but he looked like Jesus in that moment. You know what I mean? And so, I think when you tell stories and they get elaborated on or taken out of context, then it turns into Disneyland and it's silly. But I do think there are.
It'd be funny if the Jesus that you saw had like Disney, like Mickey ears instead of a crown.
Yeah.
I think there's different. How do I say this? I think that there's several different layers to this conversation.
It's
There's-
infinite, right?
Yeah, there is the. I can only speak for America. That's the only place I've ever lived.
Okay.
Right. So there is the American kind of. Do you believe? Yes, I do. I go to church. Have you ever read the Bible? No, I haven't. Do you know anything about that time period? With the Romans and the Jews? No, I don't know anything about. Like they literally know nothing. They just believe. They probably haven't actually asked themselves, do I actually believe or not? Their parents did, so this is where they go.
That's to me is nuts. Like I don't understand how you as a thinking human being can be like, can just accept that and not look into like, and even if your belief is right, it's still one of the biggest decisions you can make for your
Yes.
and then you just accept what some guy says that you don't even know. Like it doesn't even make sense, and you wouldn't look into it.
When I walked in earlier, Stuart, you were talking about your dad, and you were talking about when he lost his job at the factory, and that was the
Right.
first time that you had seen him broken. If you are thinking about a person who raised you, who was that God figure in your life, sometimes you don't understand that they don't understand shit until you are in their position and that old. And so it's very easy for people to just follow that path and learn what they were taught. Just because you were taught things doesn't mean you were taught by smart people who knew the right thing.
You always have like the more empathetic way to look at things. You know, like, Tom, here's how you should, and it's
But isn't that
no, it's fun, it's great.
because that's what we talk about. We talk about that all the time. It's one of the things you say most often about, fucking Gandhi, and
Yes.
nobody's ever said fucking Gandhi.
I
This
have.
fucking Gandhi
I
fella.
have. Try
I'm sure
reading
the
that
British
autobiography. You'll say it
And Martin
100
Luther
times. Like, this fucking guy. Can you please put together a sentence? You must be hungry.
That goes back. So that empathy, man, and believing in those things. If you got nothing, what's it hurt to believe that you might have some help? I have this neighbor
It's
who.
fine to believe you have some help, but tap into it. To go look in, like, it's.
Well,
so
that's
much,
what I'm talking about. Is
It's
there
so
are
much
different
more vast
there
than
are
that.
different levels here. If you say this is where I go on Sunday, and it's a communal thing, and a lot of people do business, they meet people. Have you been about? That is one level of I'm not questioning this. Okay, because this is where I go to this Catholic church, and this is where I go, and
It
this
is
is
a
where
real
I've always
community.
gone.
Everyone you go to, there's like a
And
real
you can get stuff out of that without questioning. Then there's another level, which is I'm going to say the typical atheist position, which is reading the Bible and breaking down all the bullshit in it, right? And trying to prove that this isn't real. That's another whole level. And then there's another level, which is Reza's on Aslan, the guy that wrote Zealot, which is a whole nother level.
Yeah,
which
like,
is
I'd be interested
This
to- I would
book.
listen-
This book isn't meant to be factual. That's not what it is. It's not meant to be. There's a rhyme and a reason why all this stuff is in there,
Like,
so
I'd
we're
be
going to
interested
break
for
it
your
down.
mom to listen to this or read this
She
book,
would.
and then
She would.
She would.
Yeah, she would listen to it.
and then
For sure.
and then talk to her like what does that do to your? Because it shouldn't mess up your faith in theory at all. It just should mess up your.
I know that he pisses off atheists. He pisses off Christians. He pisses off Muslims.
that.
He upsets a lot of people.
It's kind of like my mom doesn't like remakes. It's kind of how she sees
Well,
it.
she's not going to like that.
Well, then she shouldn't like the King James Bible.
Or like reboots. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're putting
Too
a
many
lot
reboots.
of we're putting a lot of pressure on everyone wanting the same things and having the same levels of, I don't want to say
That's true.
intelligence,
That's true.
but I know
Comprehension.
people that are better off because they are believing. I'm glad that they are religious.
Oh, 100%.
And,
Yes,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? It's a
I know people that are better off because they play basketball.
yes.
I know a guy once. He said this out loud to me in public, not in public, but with another a group of people. He said, "Well, if there wasn't a God, what keeps you from tying a girl to a tree and raping her?" What do you
Super
what
specific.
like? What do you mean? Like, what do you that? Not wanting to do that to another human being in first place. Like, why do you need God?
There
like
are
you
some
mean.
people,
So
though.
that's what I mean. That's what, like you saying, like, there's some people that you're glad they do believe.
Sure.
Like, thank God that
Yeah.
guy believe. Like,
And religion always has been, one part of it always has been a control mechanism. You
Absolutely.
can control groups of people with this. But that has nothing to do with the question of do you have faith or not?
Right.
Those are separate things.
but then people like Joel Osteen or Creflo Dollar, who's actually done a weird thing and flipped me on him by just what he did.
He's
And
an
then-
actor.
No,
Creflo Dollar.
he's one of these.
Rapper.
He's a prosperity preacher, like one of these, like, send me your money, and that means.
Rapper.
Yeah, he's a rapper. Creflo Dollar.
It's a great name
It
for a
does sound
rapper.
like a rapper.
It's very
if
similar.
you played the new Creflo Dollar right now, I'd fucking be like,
yo,
oh.
this is
You might like the new Creflo Dollar. The new Creflo Dollar is like apologizing for the way he was asking for money and the
Really?
way, yes.
And that's
you got a rap on the
He's
knuckles.
raising tons of money that way.
He's raising tons of money by apologizing.
Yeah.
I've been reborn.
That apology tour
Sell
goes over
albums,
huge,
yeah.
man.
You know how much
Yeah.
it costs to be reborn? Come on. But then religion gets used again by another group that makes them an untaxed lobby that is a voting block like crazy.
Sure.
Because people
So now-
they get tricked by this thing that they don't look into, that they believe, by powerful people that are taking advantage of
One
them.
of the things I worry about most when people talk about religion is that we only, when we're only talk about we more often than not talk about the people who are abusing it or taking advantage of it. And while that's a huge part of it and should be talked about, we also have to at the same time talk about the good sides of it.
Right.
I know
Well,
a
Sam
woman.
Harris makes a good point. That
I know
like
a woman that is, her life is not fantastic, and the only thing
yeah,
that
your
keeps
neighbor,
her.
yeah, is beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's lovely to me. And that part of that is the fact that she feels connected to everything. I don't give a fuck how she gets that relief. She needs that relief. So that to me is the good part of it. And it's the people who take advantage of that is honestly the problem.
Absolutely. I mean, Tom knows this. I've got a million stories of people, religious preachers. For some reason,
Tell him the story. Is it Mike? Tell him the story of
Mike
Mike.
Mather, preacher, Methodist preacher in Indianapolis, powerful man. Loved it. One of my favorite human beings I've ever met. He hates it when I tell this story, but this is a Christian story in my opinion. Mike is he's in Colorado now because his son moved there and had a baby. He wanted to be closer to the grandchildren, right? But he was in Indianapolis, believed in living where you preach. So he's in the bad, quote unquote, bad area of town. He hates it when preachers teach or preach in that area and then live in some subdivision, and so he's like not only with the people that are in his congregation, but also with them in the community, living around. So there's this, I think the kid was 15 or something, and Mike Mather was at his birth. He's known him all his life, and this kid is running with some bad kids, and they decide to break into someone's home, okay? So it's about 3 a.m. They're climbing in the window. Homeowner is asleep at home, wakes up, sees someone climbing in his window, grabs his gun, kills the kid. So he's 15, kills him. Mike did what he should do, which he went to the family's home of the child that he's known his entire life, and he vacuumed their floors, and he washed their dishes, and he made sure they had meals. And his point of view was these people need to grieve. They need time to not worry about how we're going to eat and all that stuff. So he was there as a servant doing what needs to be done to allow them to get all that and cry and all that stuff. And he's there for as long as he needed to be. And when he left there, he went to the shooter's home and vacuumed his floors and cooked his meals and sat and listened to him. And I stood in front of Mike and I said, I got to be honest with you. Maybe I would have thought about the first part, going to the family's home that lost a son. Maybe I would have thought that'd be a good idea. Let me go do that. But it never would have occurred to me. I'm not even saying I wouldn't do it. I'm saying it wouldn't have come in my mind to go to the shooter's home. And he said, that person just killed another human being. Do you have any idea how empty and scared they feel? They need help just as much as the other person. That Christian, that belief, whatever you want to call that, is what I'm for. That is what I want to spread. Do you know what I mean? And
What made him tell you that story?
somebody else told me that story.
Okay, that's because in my head I'm a little.
He
my
hates
cynic
it.
is like, why is this guy telling his story all dramatic?
Mike
like that? And
Mather-
then I went to the day. I'm immediately there's that part of me that's criticizing him.
Yeah.
Now. Like, why
Well-
you gotta
Well,
tell
you could take
people?
the story and take the people out of it, and just the idea that story exists, because
Homely-esque.
even if it happened to that one person, it's happened to many people, right? So just the idea that thought process and behavior exists is phenomenal.
It is phenomenal.
Well,
so
yeah,
somebody else
but
told you the story about him.
Someone at his church told me that story, and I had lunch with Mike, and I said, so tell me about the 15-year-old. He goes, I don't want to. What? Let's talk about the game or whatever, because he's just a humble guy and doesn't, you know what I mean? But I finally got him to tell me the story and all that. I mean, but
That
You know-
bridge,
Crazy.
that bridge that he created
yeah,
between those two families, whether they know it exists or not, is so much closer to love than, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I have a funny sketch idea now of like
Okay.
Perfect
him,
segue.
like of him at the shooter's house cleaning up. Like they're really crying over there. You're doing a much better job.
He's doing it in an active
Right.
crime scene. That's evident.
Just tape around.
Yeah, this is better. It's a lot less bloody over at the Simpsons.
All right.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
let's just film that and put it in right here.
this is the reason Tom's one of the best joke writers in the country.
Yeah, he went right to the joke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was about to cry, and he fucking
Yeah.
he pulled a sketch out of it.
It doesn't matter what you say. Tom will go direct. His mind is looking for that connection.
Yeah, yeah.
You could
No,
say,
it's just the awkwardness of like doing
Yeah.
both and like it'd be fun.
I mean, but to what Eric was saying, I mean, there are
Now I
45,000
get-
different denominations of Christianity.
Right.
45,000. That's how split and
We need
you know
more.
fragmented they are, and they argue about the dumbest crap, and then they go, well, we can't worship together anymore, and they split. I mean, my friend Paul Strickland, who grew up Church of God, his church has split. This is not a joke. His church has split so many times that now it is down to Paul. No, well, Paul doesn't live there anymore. It's down to Paul's parents, his mom and dad, and their neighbor, and that's the entire church.
Really?
And it's in their
I
living
think that's
room.
perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's
That's a
perfect.
great documentary.
Well, they're not happy about the neighbor right now. Quite
Right.
frankly. Wrong kind of casserole.
Well, honey, when he said love your neighbor, he doesn't mean literally.
Was it?
Unless
And
the
he didn't,
casseroles.
by the
Yeah.
way. He didn't mean that literally. He meant in the Jewish community.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So this book then it doesn't destroy Christianity or saying Jesus, right? It doesn't say
No, it
this isn't. He's not like
explains
he's not
it.
real and blah blah blah. It's more like that's what I mean. It'd be interesting to your mom or somebody to listen to that because it doesn't steal that away from them.
It's a fascinating book. It's one of my favorite books on religion because Reza starts off with one question. He wants to find any scrap of information about the real Jesus of Nazareth, not Jesus Christ, that all the stuff has been built up around. Who was this
The person.
guy? And what did he do and what did he mean? And there's a lot of
And he
theologians.
used this history to go back and be like, if he came from here, this is what he was doing for a living. This was basically the populace of that area because there's histories that don't necessarily include him that are about the whole area and time.
Oh yeah,
and
we know
people.
a whole lot
Right.
about the Romans were really good at record keeping. So we
So
we
were the
know
Nazis.
yeah, and
They didn't have a lot of time to do it though. They only had like 4 years. Romans a little longer.
A little longer.
better.
Oh, that's true.
you know, and one of his points, Nick, is, and this is where I think your mother might not be happy, is you cannot understand the Bible without remembering every page that Jesus of Nazareth was a Jew. He was a Jew. So everything.
No, they killed him.
And
Right.
he explains
Bring in
where
Nick's
that
mom.
comes from too.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
My mom also might just like a hot Jesus. The more I'm thinking about it. I think it really comes down to the imagery of him being ripped.
Shredded.
Yeah, she really
Right.
does like that.
And he might have been, you know, you don't know.
The first
Yeah,
person
working
I
with
ever
wood.
heard do any kind of reference to that was like early in comedy when Ted Alexandro was open micing in New
I know
York.
that bit.
And he did the bit about Jesus' abs and like, it's just
Good
like
bit.
I would have never thought that, you know.
But you know what? To flip the tables on you about like the religious right using their power as a group politically, right? Did you see the news? I think it was today. I'm pretty sure it was today. The Satanists, the Church of Satan, is using their power to challenge the Indiana abortion ban.
I do love the way the Satanists in Texas have done a lot of stuff like that, and in Oklahoma, where they really stand up to this stuff, right? It's very interesting. Like it's very interesting to be rooting for the Satanists. You know,
Well,
like,
they don't believe.
Yeah.
like,
They
It's a
don't
very
follow.
2022 sentence you just
yeah,
said.
but
They're kind of killing it.
but I
right
don't.
now.
They are killing it.
Saying that in the past would have
Yeah.
made me be like, ooh, like it
No,
makes you
saying
feel,
it in the past would have got you shot too.
They,
you know?
Yeah, but I like if in my own place,
Yeah.
like I don't have any because it's just so farcical, all that stuff to me right now. So it's like
that's not what
just-
they are.
But
Yeah.
but to me, Satanism is the original
as
flying
Satanists.
spaghetti monster. Like they just made up sort of a mock thing to be like, okay, if your everything is real, then this is real. You know what I mean? And it's well played because they're established religion, and they can. They did it in Texas with like Texas was doing a thing where you had to pay to have a burial for an abortion, right? So they had to pay for the cremation services. So Satanists started sending in semen-filled socks for the state to have to
Satanists.
bury and
It's
stuff
great.
like that.
It's
And
good
so just to point out sort
Very
of
creative.
Yes.
They do like after school programs in some schools now, and the after school programs are just kids just hanging out. There's no like religion influence like at all. It was kind of like because they were doing like after school like Christian, Catholic, Judaism
Right.
like programs, but the Satanist after school program for kids is just, hey, come here and hang out with no one
Recess.
telling you about
Yeah. Have
any
fun.
of that.
Right.
So it's kind of
That's the key to it. Is the Satanists don't follow Satan.
No,
they're not.
yeah.
They don't have a goat, and they're you know, I mean,
Some of them have goats.
Come
yeah,
on.
they got
Yeah.
some goats.
Everybody's got goats
It
now.
comes
I heard they're
Territory.
sacrificing cats and drinking
Every
baby blood.
hipster's a Satanist.
no, that's what I'm
now.
trying to say. I mean, they're not.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
all
You
that.
ever been to goat yoga?
And you have,
that stuff.
and Stewart has a history of there's a free thinkers convention in Orlando. Is it the Free Thinkers? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's not very free thinker of them to all gather in one place.
That's true.
And it's a convention. It's a
Seth is gonna go do
humanist.
5 there.
It's technically a humanist convention, I guess, is under that banner. But it's a convention. You know, there's 50 tables. Everybody's got their table set up with their bumper stickers and take our pamphlets and here's our literature and all that. And there's the free thinkers of America, and then there's the atheists of America and the agnostics and you know all these different groups. And the Satanists are always there, and they have really cool merch.
Isn't it? Yeah, I bet they do.
Merch table
Of
is
course, the
great.
Satanists have the best merch table at the Free Thinkers
Yeah,
convention.
that's awesome.
If you play it backwards, it says good things about Jesus.
One thing that's always been fascinating to me is how most groups of atheists are more Christ-like than a lot of religious groups, and I think the religious groups who are having conversations with atheist groups and vice versa, those people are all more knowledgeable. I think it's the more you are willing to talk to the people who believe the opposite thing, the better everyone ends up being. It's when we stop having those conversations at all, that's where we get to the angry part of all of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think as long as you're capable of really listening, not just waiting for someone to shut up so then you can prove them that they're an idiot. Like you're actually thinking about what they're saying and trying to decide, does this line up? Does this make any sense to you? Can I relate to this at all? You know, that kind of thing.
Not coming to the table with the idea that they are an idiot before you even start conversating is super important. Like that lack of judgment. I don't know if judgment's the right word, but it's what I mean.
I don't know if you really get a seat at the table of the discussion of what is the thing that connects us all, or is the source, or whatever, or is God, if you haven't even read your book.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Everyone
You know what I mean?
gets a
Like-
seat at the table. It's just a different table.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Kids
that
table.
Because
You
they're
don't
all
have to
me.
sit
They're
at
all
that
me. That's
table.
right.
Yeah,
right.
man.
Yeah.
Why not talk to everybody? What you're going to find out is some people don't give a fuck about any of this stuff. You talk about it, and they don't give a fuck. They're going to believe whatever they believed before. It's the Kardashians. I don't fucking want to watch it. It's not a thing I want to consume, but I shouldn't judge anyone who does. They have their reasons for it, like I have my reasons for not thinking about it.
Right, I agree with that. I mean, I hope they're sterile, but I
It'd be
think
fun if you said I am.
I am
think
not.
that's kind of what I'm trying to get at with the different sections, layers. I don't know what the proper word is. It's like if you had a table, like Eric's, metaphor. If you had a table and you had someone like Nick's mom who, just watches the documentaries that reinforce what she believes and doesn't want to be challenged. I hope I'm not.
No, you're pretty dead on the money. On
But
that.
Okay.
I mean, when you say that, I'm thinking, God, I mean, I obviously do that too we all do on some level.
We all do on some level, but if you got around a table and Nick's mom was there, and then you had an atheist that was there, and then you had Tom there, and Reza Aslan there, and then everybody could say, okay, let's listen to each other. And then maybe Nick's mom says, oh, I didn't know that Bethlehem story wasn't true. And then Reza, who has a master's degree and he studied the religion. He didn't just listen on Sunday. He studied the religion. He can explain to her why the Bethlehem story was made up and how everybody knew it was made up. No, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's another thing that was interesting in this book. Now you're saying that 'cause when he says like those kind of things, like explaining why it was made up, the context of why it was made up, what it meant for it, how it had even the impact that it had because
Yes.
it was made up and it was a story that everyone sort of already knew. That
Everybody knew it was made up.
Right.
He's not saying this is a lie and you should hate these people. He's explaining to you why the story exists and the fact that everybody knew it wasn't true. You're not trying to prove a truth with that story.
You need an origin story.
Right, and you have to. The writer of the story believed that Jesus of Nazareth is the Messiah. And then in the Old Testament, there's a whole bunch of things that if the Messiah comes, we know this, and this about them. They're going to be born in Bethlehem. And then another thing says we don't know where they're going to be born. He's trying to prove that Jesus is this Messiah. So you have to get him born in Bethlehem. And then he makes up this thing about the tax and all that stuff. Everybody knows it's not true. Yeah. What he's saying is, I believe Jesus of Nazareth is this Messiah.
You got to kill Uncle Ben before you get Spider-Man.
It's not like this guy's an asshole and he lied to everybody. He told a story about what he believes, and everybody went, oh, okay, now I understand what you believe, what your faith is.
Oh, that was another point, right? Like you're making, that you're making me think of. He makes the point of, like, even reading back then or storytelling, the points, like you're trying to get to the idea is you tell the story. The story's not important. The facts of the story aren't important, where somebody's like, he said blah, 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 and that wouldn't have made sense. Because the point of the story was to get to the belief or to get to the idea.
Yes.
So the everything around it was, of course, just analogies or whatever, but the gist that they were going for is different than the way we read or take in stories now.
Yeah, it's like if you're reading a book, you're a father, Eric's a father, are you a father?
I am not a father.
He's got a couple cats. They were
If you're reading a children's story about not judging another person because of the color of their skin, maybe there's a dragon in it that's eating tacos, and maybe there's a big boat and someone has a pogo stick.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, all that crap is
this a real story?
up.
Did you just pull from?
I just made it up.
There is one called Dragons Eat Tacos.
That is a good book. That is a very good book. Yeah, Dragons Eat Tacos.
I'm going to read Zealot and Dragons Eat Tacos.
Click Clack Moo. Click Clack Moo's good too.
But in children's stories, all the facts don't have to be real. You're trying to convey a message and a point.
Yes.
Like
It's
Dr.
the same-
Seuss's Sniglets or
it's
whatever
the-
it was. Like not Sniglets, it was the leech. They
I
didn't
think
have the
it's
stars.
I think it's the same
Yeah.
thing as
Meeseeks.
the story you told about the guy who went to the guy who killed the kid in the kid's house. It's the same thing.
such a great human being. Like, who does that? That's
Right,
such
but
a-
My
you know,
mother's
even if
incredible.
that isn't, take all the actual human beings out and just tell that story. The story is important. It's more effective because he knows the person, and but the morals of the story still stand.
Yes. But if you're talking to that happened in Indianapolis, right? So if you're in Oregon and you're talking to a bunch of people, and you think to yourself, you know what, I'm going to take it out of Indianapolis because that's far away, and I'm going to put that story in Oregon. Well, now you just made it factually incorrect, but you made a human connection because they know Oregon. And then if you take it out of
Is their connection more important than your connection to the story?
yes, you're
Okay.
conveying that moment where you realize he helped both sides. That's what's important, not where was he, what color skin did they have, how
Who
much
did he
money,
agree with? Who did he
he
disagree
agree-
with? Who did he
None of
fault?
all you can manipulate all those facts to more effectively convey that the most important message, which is he didn't hate the guy with the gun. He didn't hate the kid that broke into the house. He went and loved. That's the message you're trying to
Empathy for
convey.
everyone.
Yes. So all these little facts. So that's where atheists get off track, is they start going through the Bible and just dissecting this fact's not true. That's not the
where
point
everyone gets
of the
off
But
track.
how does to me, that's my problem with atheists. How does that apply to atheists? Like, what, I mean, if to just go ahead and go through point by point and dismiss one religion, that means that whatever God is
Well,
isn't real? Like,
I
that
mean-
doesn't, that's easy. And then
They're
so
not
there's
arguing.
there's a faith in that ignores science and ignores people that have had actual experience and have looked into that experience. Like, they're ignoring all of that science and evidence because they're throwing out God because religion, you can dismiss that, right? But it's still a faith that
This is
that
the
this all
reason-
ends and then everything shuts off and consciousness doesn't continue and like, so that doesn't come from a place of I don't know. that comes from a place
Right.
of, I know that this is all
Yes,
there is,
but this
which
is the
another
reason-
version of faith.
This is the reason, Tom. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is the reason that I think it's important when anybody's talking about this subject is to think of it in layers, because the atheists are arguing against the person who hasn't asked themselves any questions. The person that says the flood happened and the bush was burning and I know it was. And they're arguing against that. They're not arguing against you, the person who's like, well, we might all be connected and there might be some consciousness to the entire. That's a totally different argument. I'm not saying they agree with you, but this group is attacking this group who has not asked questions and believes in the Bible literally.
But there's people over here that have looked into it. They have looked into their thing. Like, what is it, Thomas Aquinas or whatever? Like, there's some
Right.
real, like, deep philosophy and thought, and people that have looked into this, and they've.
What is this?
This is religion, you know.
Okay,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
that they can make all those arguments. They're the apologists or whatever that aren't based basically on like the flood happened and the blah blah blah. It's more.
Yeah,
you
well,
know.
that's the reason and maybe it's just me, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's the whole confusing topic becomes a little clearer when you look at the arguments and you say, okay, what layer are they on?
I think
Okay, that
almost
makes
everything
sense.
should start from a place of definitions. So often we have conversations about things like this, or really anything.
Yeah, where we all have a different definition.
We all have a different definition, and so the conversations become circular. And I think what needs to happen is when we're talking about God, right? Let's talk about our definition of it, our religion, right? Everyone has. There are words in the English language that we use every day that each one of us in this room have a different definition for.
Yeah.
And a lot of our arguments come from that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's easier to, even if I know the exact right thing of this thing and someone doesn't, I will most likely try to explain it. But there are some people who you can't explain that to. It's over their head, beyond them. As long as everyone is treating each other properly, I have little disagreement with people who believe the wrong thing. If the end result is treating each other well, I really don't give a fuck what you believe. But if you are mistreating people, I have a problem with that.
I agree with you about that's the reason I asked you, what is it? Like you said
Right.
earlier, you said it, and I said,
I
well,
don't know.
what is it?
I can't define it. It's
So are
too
you
it's beyond
agnostic, Tom?
definition. I think so. Yeah, I think you'd say that.
It's a
You
little
could say that.
religious je ne sais quoi, you know?
Yeah, it's I don't know,
Jenny say what?
but I think that
It's music.
what I believe and what I is different. Like I said, I believe the science says that.
What's it matter?
Yeah, it's just. I don't know. What's it matter? I think it. I don't know. I think that that we could. I think we're tricked by. Not. It's like somebody described to me once what it was like to wake up from a coma. And it was like, do you just come back and then start remembering? And he was like, it's like curtains. Like you come back, you're back out of the coma, and you have a certain amount of memories, and then the next curtain pulls by, and then you now you have even more memories and more like blah blah blah, and then the next curtain. I feel like we have that with our consciousness and our awareness of who we are as people and who we are as beings and all that kind of stuff. And there's a veil that's keeping us from seeing the next thing. It's a step beyond the matrix, and I think that's real. I think that's so that's I guess but I think that's in science. I think that's
It's in
you can see
everything.
it in quantum physics. You can see it in like if time is real or not real, or the way it changes. Like just there's too much to me that shows this is all one thing.
I think you and I are very close to having the same belief. I don't know if that word.
No, I
but-
think that's.
Outlook, maybe, I
I
guess.
wish I could
Outlook.
express it better.
Well, the right fucking language is insufficient,
Yeah.
right? And so
Sure.
that's why that homeless guy fucking conveying his experience at the open mic is so goddamn beautiful.
And that's why what you do is, because when you're up there, it's like you have like a Stevie Ray Vaughan-ness, where it's like, you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean by that? Like, you're just the vehicle that it's going through. You know what I mean?
Stevie Ray.
You know, like, when you watch him play guitar, it's like you don't. It doesn't feel like a guy who's practiced that. It feels like a guy who's just doing that.
It's really amazing. But the thing that the biggest example of what you're talking about definitions right now in this country, the greatest example is when anybody is going to have a conversation right now and they start, you know what the problem with America is? You stop them and you go, what is your definition of America?
Yes, please. You know, yeah.
Because I need to know what you think America is before you go off on this harangue.
Oh, that's a good.
The best example that I found is my son, my middle son. He
one that went to college or not?
One who went to college.
Of course.
He's hanging out with his buddy, and they're just having a good time. They're playing video games and chilling. They start a conversation. 15 minutes in, they're at the pace of kind of an argument. One of them Googles a word, and the argument was over. They Googled the word about a thing that was in the argument they were having. They found out one of them was just misunderstanding. It was, you know what I mean? That whole conversation, and that's why I love. That's the one good thing about technology now, right? Is you can end these arguments so quickly by talking about definitions.
I thought that would work on conservative versus liberal. I was like, just go look up the definitions of the words.
That's
like,
that's the debate show.
How
we
do you
gotta
say
do.
this is a
Liberal
terrible,
Google
shitty human being when the very definitions are the things that we all would want to be as human beings? And the very definition of the word you're saying is against stopping progress, staying where you are, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
I think, it goes back to, people that say, yes, I'm a Christian, and then you say, oh, that's great. What's your favorite book in the Bible? And they go, oh, I've never read the Bible. I mean, there is so much to do just to function. If you got kids, how much free time do you have, and how much learning is
I
there
have
out there?
so much free time, and I still won't.
You could be a monk, Eric.
And that is best
Have
case
you
scenario.
read the Bible?
Yes, and that is best.
How'd you do it?
With my eyes?
On Audible.
Like start to
On
finish?
Amazon, like next month.
Yeah, I think it took me a couple of false tries. Like I had to start, and it's kind of like listening to Lenny Bruce. It's like you're like, wait a minute, I don't think I get this. And
What
I
the
don't,
fuck is this?
Yeah, what is? I don't understand that word and
Google.
this and that. Or it's like reading James Joyce. You're just kind of like, what? What is?
Every time
what's
you read
going
the
on?
Bible, and this is any book really, but I think it really lends itself to the Bible. Every time you read the Bible, it's what you're reading it from whatever perspective you are currently in. It is going to mean different things. It's going to, and it's because there's some fucking stories there. You know what I mean?
You started a show and you didn't see the earlier seasons.
When I was younger and I
Yeah.
read the Bible, when I read the Bible when I was 15,
Did you read it start to finish? What'd you do?
I read start to finish mostly. I was angry reading that Bible the whole fucking time, man. And then when I read it in my early 20s,
Wait a minute. When you were 15, were you angry because you were forced to read it?
No, I read it because I thought everything was bullshit.
Oh, got you.
And I knew everybody who was saying all these things had not read it.
Okay.
And so I needed to be able to have my conversations with them and say, shut the fuck up. But then I got pulled back into religion. I read it again in my early 20s, and it was laughable to me at that point. I was so angry I was laughing at how ridiculous so much of this stuff was. I revisited when I get older, and so much of it makes sense. And I don't mean that I believe the stories or whatever it is, but I see the message. I was taking whatever message I needed out of it at whatever point, and I think when I was younger, the message I needed was to think this is all bullshit.
Right.
Because I can't fall into this blind following bullshit trap when I'm around the Catholic Church and they are so obviously mistreating human beings consistently.
Right.
They are responsible.
That is a very beautiful, nice way to say that.
Well,
Mistreating
as
human
someone
beings. Yes.
as someone who has directly suffered from the abuse of the Catholic Church, that's how I prefer to put it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to throw. When those priests were doing that to those children, there were also Catholics who were treating each other really well. And so for me to say all the Catholics that went to the churches I went to are bad people is not correct. It's not accurate.
A lot of them are bad
So
people, though.
I was going to say
I just don't
earlier
think that's true.
when we were talking about this, like Sam Harris makes the point of like you're saying, the good ones and the blah blah blah, is that it's the moderates that are the problem, because most people are moderates, and in every religion, the moderates then allow the farther right versions or whatever.
Oh, we don't want to ruffle any feathers.
Yeah, like
They
they're the
just
ones
don't
doing
let
it
it
right.
happen.
You know what I mean? So like, if the moderates don't stop the fanatics, then they're to blame, because they're enabling it to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, but
I get what you're saying. I just don't know if that.
if the
I had a
the
bad
moderates
baseball
don't
coach.
stop the extremists that are in the.
I had a
that are in
bad
there.
baseball coach. It doesn't mean all baseball coaches are bad.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, I think that I think I get what you're saying, Tom, but I don't disagree with it in theory, but I think if you're waiting on the moderates to fix something, then that's a bad place to be putting your energy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? These people, they couldn't even be bothered to read the book, and you want them to control the situation. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm in Georgia, and if the left is hoping that Georgia goes blue, if you're getting to that point, then you're fucking.
that's
Maybe
another-
moderate isn't the word. Maybe it's because you said these are the people doing it right. Maybe it's the ones like you said. Maybe moderate isn't the one. It's the ones like love thy neighbor, and it's like I don't want to tell my neighbor he's wrong or confront him or anything or throw stones or something, and then it's kind of and then it leads to the.
Well, the fanatics of Muslim religion and the fanatics of Christianity, they're allowed to prosper and to grow because
They're
the
more
moderates
aggressive.
allow it, and
Yeah.
the progressives, they allow that to happen instead of.
Well, I
like-
mean, then you're just talking about power, right? You're saying people like Martin Luther King, or, you know what I mean? Is if one side is more violent than the other, the violent side is always going to win, right?
Not
Has it
always.
ever? When has it gone the other way? When has the
In
peaceful?
Birmingham?
It's the peaceful has.
Like in pockets, nonviolence has worked very with the Chinese kid that stood in front of the tank. You know what I mean? There's examples of the nonviolent version.
Tiananmen
things are-
Square.
Things
Yeah, yeah.
are different.
Yeah, I
we
think
don't know
you
his
could.
name.
Eric, I think he's unknown to history. I think you could. I would say this, and you could argue with me. I would say that nonviolence has won some battles, but not a war.
Yeah, I think it's. I think by definition, nonviolence cannot win a war.
yeah,
Yeah.
because they're trying to stop it. But
I mean, you could prevent a war, but you can't win a war.
But look,
Nonviolence can prevent a war, it cannot win a war.
It can strip.
I mean,
it
the
can
war-
strip
I know-
it can
I'm
s-
not
It can strip the
pro-violence,
government
man.
of its powers.
I'm
not
saying-
talking about war, and literally, I'm talking about the war of peace. the
I'm saying
war-
if you have two neighbors, and one neighbor is violent and one neighbor is not, when the shit goes down, who gets the stuff?
Well, I'm nonviolent, and I'm going to win because I'm going to shoot him.
There you go. All
So it's
right.
not violence.
And then someone comes and vacuums
Hey,
your house for
it's
you.
not
Hey,
violent.
people don't kill
Exactly.
people. It was
I'll
his
come
gun.
wash your feet when you do
People
it,
don't kill people.
and I'll come wash your feet when you do it.
I think, you've got the moderates standing. I mean, it's very hard to follow. I put that in quotes, to follow something, no matter what it is, whether it's a band that you think is great or whatever, and then you have to at some point admit that maybe I wasn't completely right about this, or I've been following this preacher for this long, and then all these people come out and say, well, he did this and he did that, and your first inclination is, no, you're lying, because essentially what they're saying in a way is like, you followed the wrong person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You feel threatened. You feel a little threatened here.
Our ego is fucked if we aren't correct.
Yeah. So it's a hard. I wouldn't want to put because I would want to put the power to stop someone doing wrong in another place where it's not an ego is not involved in it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Not really.
There's a
Bing.
Has it been reduced now to just the noise?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll add
Today's
it.
the first day we did it. We're gonna on the
I like
screen.
it.
There'll be a lot of bells. Bing, 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 bing. They'll go off. It'll crazy.
I love it.
Fireworks behind Tom.
So
God comes down
We'll
at the
have
end of the
Satan
episode.
fly.
Did you start with a belief and then I don't think any of this is real, and then you've sort of proven that through your own thing, or did you start somewhere
progression?
else and get to that? Like, have you looked into this God thing at all?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. My
Why?
parents.
You watched a documentary on Netflix?
Yeah.
I like Morgan Freeman's voice.
Yeah.
My parents are what I love them both, but and I get along with them, but they are what I consider American Christians, which is, we went to church Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then whenever I did something wrong.
Or somebody got sick.
You were
right?
called Creasters. That's what we called them growing up.
Oh,
People
really?
that came on Christmas or Easter.
Yeah.
You guys were
Creasters?
Yeah.
Priesters. I love that. And that's what we were. And I remember the last time that I
That's what
went.
the fundamentalists made fun of.
Yeah.
I love it.
A bunch of creatures.
And they
walking
should.
to-
Yeah.
They
Right.
absolutely should.
Yes.
They should make fun of that. The place is packed on
That's
Christmas.
what I love most about
This is
church
bull.
is when people get made fun of.
The in jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it was
that's-
always like going to the Christian church, my mother's church when I was a kid. It was I just knew we were going to wear our best clothes. And I always thought that was funny to me. Like, what's it matter? What's it matter? And then you get there and people are judged on what they are fucking wearing on the day that they come to worship this God who should not give a fuck what you are
Yes.
wearing
Consider the lilies
for
of the
clothes.
field.
You
Yeah.
should, you know what I mean? That's always anyways, my favorite part of religion is the ridicule.
Yeah,
They
that's what I
judge
miss
your
about
seats,
church
too.
is the
Gotta get
jokes.
good
I literally left a church one time where they did the whole thing was on the Good Samaritan, like passing by the beggar, the guy that was hurt, and then the Samaritan stops or whatever. And I was like, man, that was a good servant. And then I went out and I'm getting in my car and I'm driving. I'm annoyed because I don't know exactly where I'm going. And then there's like a homeless person with a sign asking for help. And I rolled up my window and took a left.
And so did everybody else coming out of that church.
And I was like, I think I missed the
And
point.
then he took off the mask, and it was the preacher.
He
right.
took off the
Hey,
mask.
It's right outside the
Yeah.
thing. And you think they're working
Zoinks,
together.
Scoob!
Like, sorry, I gave my money to the charlatan inside.
You should add that to the title. Dumbest guy in the room missed the point.
All
We
right.
just have a graphic that comes up every time he misses the point.
So your parents are American, right? And then
American
it's-
Christians.
So it's,
Yeah.
do you remember when you started to be like, Santa Claus isn't real?
I don't remember what age. I'm bad on numbers.
My mom still doesn't admit that he's not real.
Your
That's
mom?
fantastic.
Santa?
I love it.
I
My
am-
mom doesn't either.
Yeah, I'd
Hardcore.
rather have Christmas at your house.
Yeah, my dad
It's
does
pretty
it.
fun. She hides the present stuff until the
awesome.
morning.
Fantastic.
My
dude.
mom's got that. As long as you believe he's
Yeah,
real.
dude, what's
Yeah.
wrong with that?
It's
That
pretty
is
much
so
over.
I
great.
mean, there's some truth to that. Childlike belief, you know.
Yeah. Yes.
The
Yes.
Cha-Cha's Christmas sounds lovely. That's all.
It's a very cha-cha Christmas.
Yeah.
I think early on when I was teenager, people, if this is a guess, I cannot remember a specific incident, but people would say, "Are you a Christian?" I would go, "Yeah," because it was kind of like, "Of course, that's what you're supposed to be."
Right.
It was like saying, "Are you breathing?" Yes, of course. I had not thought about it at all. And then when I got to college, I ended up taking classes that just sounded interesting to me. I read the syllabus and was like, I want to like coming to college. So I started so I took like history of Japanese religions. I took all kinds of, I took Old Testament and New Testament, and then I started taking all these, religion classes, and I just found it fascinating. And then around that time period is when I started actually thinking, what do I really believe? And I started reading some stuff and all this kind of thing. And then I went through a period of like learning that I was lied to, or feeling like I was lied to. And I was angry and mad and arguing, and I would go home, and see my parents, and I would argue with them and all this kind of crap. And then I got over that.
It is that, though,
know?
the feeling of being lied to, because I'm unsure where a lie begins, right? If they actually believe it, and
Then
they tell
is
you
it a lie?
it's not a lie, right?
Right.
It's the realization that you were wrong or believing something that wasn't necessarily true. There's that anger that comes there, right?
Right. So like Nick's mom would say the flood actually happened, Now, if we tell her about Gilgamesh, 1,500 years before Noah. It's the same story, different culture. There are like 87 or something like that flood stories that are almost identical that were way before Christianity.
Reboots, man.
It's like this hurricane story that's
Right.
getting ready to happen, right? How is that different from the last
The
100
hockey team?
hurricane stories? No. There's getting ready to be a hurricane in Florida, and there's already one that we're not talking about that hit Canada.
Oh.
Like we were going to have a
Canada
guest.
gets hurricanes?
Didn't you just say our guest got hit by a? They got hit by some
Tom
sort of
is not a meteorologist.
Yes. Didn't you just say like our stoic guest got stuck in Newfoundland because of the one that just hit Canada?
Oh, well, I mean, he was going to fly in here, and he couldn't. They couldn't
Because of the
fly
one
in.
that's hitting Canada.
I didn't
Some
know.
houses were pushed
Pacific.
into the ocean. Like this is, but they're not covering that because there's one that's going to be hitting America
Yeah.
in 5 days. So we're
Well,
like,
actually,
we
from
gotta-
the time this podcast come out, that was 8 weeks
That's
ago.
right.
so
That's what I mean.
It's
our
hitting-
bad on that. We
So-
hope you're good.
So same flood. So same flood story. It's
Yeah,
flood story.
but did Nick's mom lie to me if she told me that story, or did Nick's mom lie to Nick when she believes that Noah actually happened, and the idea that it was a story that was passed around that had a point to it. So the facts aren't the important thing to get tripped up on. It's what point are they trying to get across?
That's the thing. That's always the problem, that I always had in my atheist days. It was.
so you've gone the other way.
I've been in and out of this fucking car. You know what I mean? I've been off and on this road and all over the goddamn place. But the problem I had with the atheism thing for me was we are picking nits. We are doing this thing that my family that became lawyers would do. It doesn't. None of the stuff matters. Here, just this time you said this thing was wrong. You put a comma there, and there's no comma. We can't talk about anything else.
That's what he was talking about with the
Right.
going through the book and being
Exactly.
like, this is wrong, this is wrong.
Yeah,
this is
I
wrong.
think
ridiculous.
it's a waste of time.
It's a
man.
waste
Right.
of time.
It's a
Fun
waste of time.
conversation to have.
If
It's a waste of time.
if those stories are true or untrue, if Nick's mom believes that everyone should be taken care of and loved, and I've read the book and disagree with the whole thing, but I still believe that the people should be taken care of and loved, why do I need to fucking change her as long as she's
Because-
doing the thing?
Because a lot of
Because
those
I
people-
gotta be right?
No, because a lot of those people that believe that,
Not her.
whatever. No, her, but me, my
Yeah,
parents.
my mom's a badass.
Right,
She's yelled
yeah.
at priests.
Like,
She's
Like-
called them out on not being.
But I'm
what
not
they're
talking
supposed
about
to
those
be.
people.
but those people are voting in mass in block
Sure.
because other people are telling them that their guy
That's another thing.
wants them
Save
to.
your anger for those people.
That's
yeah.
another
not,
layer.
Not the ones who are
But
not.
they are the one. They are the
But-
ones then not because they're listening to the guy say your guy says to vote this way. They are in mass voting for things
Absolutely.
that make it worse for all of us.
Absolutely.
And that is
And
another
that-
layer of
Yep.
this conversation.
We don't think we
Because-
can have to continue that on another one.
Right.
Because we're done with time here.
Are we?
Yes, we are.
Because what it boils down
Seth
to
has said time's
is
up. He's like the Grim Reaper.
what do you believe? And you don't even have to talk to anybody or just ask yourself the question, what do I believe? Forget anybody else. Forget Republican, Democrat, forget Catholic or Methodist or anything. Think about you and your beliefs and the universe and read Zealot.
And make sure you talk about them on a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I am going to read Zealot.
You don't have to. It's
I'm
a.
excited.
It's a.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm going to listen to it. I say read because I want credit.
Yes.
Well, fuck you. I'm going to do it while I'm playing Mario Golf, but I'm
Yeah.
fucking ingesting.
I found that I
I'll read it
listened.
to you.
I found that I listened to it a couple times. Like
Really?
I'd be driving around, so I would leave one
Yeah.
CD in for like a couple run throughs because
Yeah.
you know how your mind starts to wander and you're not really listening for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah,
and then-
yeah. It sparks a thought.
Yeah. And then sometimes Owen would be riding in the car and we'd be like, Jesus, because you you get in the car and the car starts up and then he's talking about Jesus. It's just you just feel a little weird if the windows are down sometimes.
Yeah, it's on Audible. I'm gonna order it right now.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's good. You know. All right, so.
We figured it out.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think nobody has to talk about religion ever
That
again. I
homeless
think we
man
just-
is God. Just figured it.